there! Welcome to the very first episode of Fairy Tale Nails. Today's story and nail design is Jack and the Beanstalk. But first, I wanted to share a little explanation of why I decided to create this series. When I moved to Australia, I inherited and brought with me this beautiful old book of fairy tales. These are the original fairy tales. Some stories you've no doubt heard, but some maybe you haven't. And not all of them have happy endings. Do you know the real story of Cinderella? Or the Little Mermaid? What about Pinocchio? Are you sure? I decided to create this channel as a way of preserving these beautiful old stories and to help expand my other passion, which is nail art. So every episode will be filled with a whimsy and fun, maybe unexpected story, and a nail art design to go along with that story. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and are looking forward to the next fairy tale nail story, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much, and now on to the real story of Jack and the Beanstalk, with interesting voice stylings by me. Products used will be in the description below. Thanks! Once upon a time, there was a poor woman who lived in a humble cottage in the countryside with her only son, whose name was Jack. They owned a cow that gave more milk than any other cow in the neighborhood, and they made butter and cheese with the extra milk and sold it to the market. But one day, the cow went dry, and there was no milk to make butter and cheese. There was not even milk for them to drink. They ate less every day, but before long, they had almost nothing left to eat and no money to buy food. Jack was still too young to work, and his mother had fallen ill. Jack's mother called him to her bedside. "I am too weak to go out myself," she told him. "So you must take the cow to market and sell her there for as much money as you can." Jack liked going to market, but he was sad that he would have to sell the cow. He set out, walked slowly, and had gone about halfway there when an old man stopped him. "Do you want to sell that cow?" he asked Jack. "I'll buy her from you here and now in exchange for these magic beans." The beans, which were all different colors, were very beautiful, and the old man had said they were magic. So Jack gave him the cow and ran home with the beans. "Look what I've got, Mother," he cried as he hurried into her room. But his mother was furious when she saw that he had come home without any money for the cow. "What?" she cried. "You sold our good cow for these worthless beans?" And she threw them out the window. That evening, Jack and his mother ate their last crust of bread and went to bed very sadly, for they knew that there was nothing left for breakfast. Jack woke up early in the next morning, still hungry. He was so hungry, in fact, that he jumped out of bed and went into the garden to look for anything to eat. To his amazement, he saw that the magic beans had grown into a huge plant that stretched right up over the roof and disappeared into the sky. The stems of the plant were so thickly twisted that he could climb up them as if they were the rungs of a ladder. He began to pull himself up higher and higher and higher. At last he reached the top of the beanstalk. In front of him was a white road, which led to a great castle far in the distance. There was no one to be seen, so he started to walk along the road. Maybe someone at the castle could give him something to eat. In any case, it would be certainly an adventure. He was hot and tired and hungrier than ever by the time he reached the castle. Its great gate was shut, but Jack knocked on it loudly. After a while, it was opened by a huge, ugly old woman who had only one eye in the middle of her forehead. "Ah!" she cried, and Jack could hear the giant coming closer. "Quick! Hide behind the cupboard!" whispered the giantess. Jack slipped out of sight as the giant stamped into the room, shouting,
"Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he live or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread."
"Nonsense," said his wife. "It's only a nice young elephant that I've cooked for your breakfast. Sit down and eat while it's hot." So the giant sat down, ate his breakfast, and forgot all about the Englishman who stood watching him from behind the cupboard. When he finished, he called out,
"Wife, bring me my magic hen. I want to see some new golden eggs."
Jack could hardly believe his eyes when he saw what happened next. The giantess brought in a little brown hen and put it on the table in front of her husband.
"Lay,"
the giant commanded, and plop, plop, plop. She immediately laid 1, 2, 3 golden eggs. The giant scooped the eggs into his pocket. Then he settled back into his chair and soon was snoring so loudly that the castle walls shook with the noise. Jack crept out from behind the cupboard, snatched up the golden hen, and ran out of the castle as fast as his legs could carry him. With the hen tucked under his arm, he climbed back down the beanstalk and hurried into the cottage and up to his mother's room. She was so happy to see him again that she cried for joy, and when she cried some more because now they would have as many golden eggs as they wanted and need never be poor again. But Jack soon began to long for adventure, and it was not long before he sat out once more to climb the beanstalk, higher and higher and higher. He walked up to the giant's castle again and knocked on the gate as before, but this time he had disguised himself so that the old giantess could not recognize him, and had dyed his hair orange. He was lucky. The old woman could not see very well with her one eye. She did not know him again. "Come in," she said, opening the door. "You can wash our clothes and mend our socks, but mind my husband, he doesn't see you or he'll eat you up." No sooner had Jack entered the castle than the walls began to shake with the giant's heavy footsteps. "Hurry, hide behind the milk churn," hissed the giantess, and Jack obeyed. The giant's voice filled the room like the roar of the sea.
"Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread."
"You've got a cold in your nose and you can't smell anything," scolded his wife. "And if you can, it's only the bull I roasted for your supper. Eat it up quickly before it gets cold." So the giant sat down, and his wife served the bull on an enormous wooden platter. The two of them ate and ate until there was nothing left on the platter but the bones. Then Jack, who was still crouched behind the milk churn, heard the giant say to his wife,
"Woman, bring me my money bags."
She brought him bag after bag of gold pieces, and he scattered them on the table and counted the pieces, and then put them back in the sacks one by one. By the time he had closed up the last bag, he was yawning, and almost as soon as he lay back in his chair, he was fast asleep. Jack tiptoed across the room, seized the money bags, and ran out of the castle with them, down the beanstalk and back to his mother. She was so glad to see him return safely that she didn't care about the gold in the sack at all, and scolded him only for taking such risks. Although there was now more than money enough, Jack's adventurous spirit still sent him climbing up the beanstalk again and again. Each time he dyed his hair and fooled the giantess anew. Each time he hid at sound of giant's familiar fee, fi, fo, fum, and waited to see what he ordered his wife to bring him. Once he had polished off the sheep, ox, or rhinoceros she had roasted for his breakfast or supper. Then, when the giant had done his gloating and fallen into his snoring slumber, Jack would snatch up his latest prize and scramble down the beanstalk again. And if the giant and his wife never suspected that they were being depleted bit by bit of all their treasures, it was because each thought the other had stored it back where it belonged. Jack's last haul had been a sack full of priceless emeralds and pearls. But the time came when he hankered for one more adventure for its own sake. So one morning he set out again up the beanstalk, higher and higher and higher, until he reached the top this time he had dyed his hair black. And yet again, the giantess did not recognize him. "Ha! You're just the boy to help me clean out the chicken run and chase the mice away. Hurry inside, for if my husband sees you, he will surely eat you up." Jack just had time to dart behind the woodpile as the giant came down from the turret, shouting,
Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
"You stupid old giant," his wife shouted back. "It's only a fat sow that I grilled for you on the spit. Sit down and eat it up quickly before it gets cold." The giant was very pleased, for after Englishmen, grilled pork was his favorite dish. So the end of the meal he felt so cheerful that he called his wife,
Woman, bring me my magic harp.
and the giantess brought in a beautiful harp inlaid with rubies and diamonds that he had stolen from the fairies many years before.
Play,
He said, and the harp played soft, sad tune about the green hills and the sea.
play something merrier than that,
said the giant. So the harp played a happy tune, which children used to dance to.
Play me a lullaby now,
The giant said, yawning. The harp played a sweet lullaby, and soon the giant was fast asleep. Then Jack crept out from behind the woodpile and picked up the harp, intending to run away with it. But as he seized it, it began to shriek, "Master! Master!" Its strings jingled together and filled the castle with noise. The giant woke up to see Jack running out the door with the harp. He leaped up with a roar and lumbered after him along the road that led to the Beanstalk. The earth shook with his heavy tread, and Jack could tell he was getting closer all the time. He was very frightened, but he clutched the harp closer and ran on as fast as he could. At last, he reached the Beanstalk and began climbing down it as fast as he could with the harp under his arm. He could hear the giant's shouts and feel the Beanstalk swaying and shaking under his weight. Jack's mother was out in the yard, and he shouted for her from halfway down the Beanstalk. "Quick, mother, bring me an axe." She ran to the woodshed and came back with the biggest axe she could find. Jack leapt to the ground, thrust the harp into her arms, and began hacking away at the Beanstalk with all his might. "Stand clear, mother," he shouted. The stalk began to crack and sway from side to side as the giant climbed nearer. Then Jack slashed through the last stem and sprang aside, just in time as the Beanstalk came crashing down, bringing with it the giant, who hit the ground with such a thud that he was killed at once. Jack had had enough adventures to last him the rest of his life, and he and his mother lived happily for many years. The end. Next episode and nail design will be Little Red Riding Hood. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of work and frustration figuring out how to create and edit a video like this, so I feel like it can only get better from here. As of right now, I am in a competition with Darth Pyro 777 to see who can get to 1,000 subscribers first. So please subscribe and comment. It's free. And I'll see you next time for Little Red Riding Hood. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!